Hi, everybody, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. You know, initially I thought we'd open the show with the glass ceiling breaking, but that is not the case anymore. That's because Donald J. Trump's shocking victory lands him in the position of president-elect. Many are ecstatic of this victory, but some others, not so much. Some are completely outraged, and they have taken to the streets in protest. So joining me to discuss the president-elect's shocking victory and how it might impact local communities are women who hold elected positions themselves or have covered many political campaigns in their lifetime. So when we come back, we're going to meet them. So stay tuned for Local Matters.
Yes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. I'm Dottie Rimsey. So Donald Trump has beat the odds. There are some who are completely just ecstatic about it, and for others, not so much. So joining me to discuss this big win and how it might impact local communities, especially right here in East Alabama, are women who hold elected positions themselves or have years of experience interviewing and working with people in elected positions. And so welcome aboard, ladies, to Local Matters, where living local never felt so darn good. Good to have you aboard. Diana sits right next to me, longtime friend. This is your first time here, but certainly not a stranger at all to TV24.
No, this is my old stomping ground,
Yeah.
so it's great to be back, and I'm honored that you asked me to be on the show
and
today.
I'm so honored to have you because, believe it or not, Diana and I want Jordan to zoom in on a little picture here.
Oh,
Can you
my.
zoom in? Can somebody, no? Zoom in on this. Zoom in on this. Diana and I have been, all right, we've been friends. Wow. That's us graduating
Aw.
from Jack State,
Oh,
1987 or so.
Look at
And
those
there
baby
we were,
faces.
two bright-eyed young girls. We were going out to really change the world and provide our opinions. And I think we've I don't know about changing the world, but we certainly have provided our opinions down through the years.
Absolutely. I can't believe I used to dye my hair brunette.
I know, right? But you know what? And here's the thing, though. All of these years we've been friends, and we have such opposing political views. It's no secret that you were for Trump, right?
Well, the proof is in the button.
She's got a big button on, a Donald J. Trump button.
I'm very proud of the United States right now. I think amazing things are coming. I think we will see unity like we've never seen before. I know there's a lot of rioting in the streets, and there are things that are going on right now. The typical unsettled feeling after a presidency. But I think a lot of that will go to the wayside once we see Trump in office and in action. I expect good things from him. And we don't know until we give him a chance.
Right, and that's what, House Speaker Hillary Clinton asked us to do, was to give him a chance. But there are many who saying, they don't feel comfortable with Donald Trump right now because they feel they're not certain about who they are going to get. Are they going to get the Donald Trump that will make fun of reporters who have disabilities? They are not sure if they're going to get the Donald Trump who doesn't respect women. They're just not sure who they're going to get. And even now that the protests have been happening, it's been touted that he's now, and then they're not sure. I want to just add that in, and we are media people, that he's attacking the media again. So people are just not sure. But you say differently. You believe that it will come a time that we'll see a steady flow in Donald Trump.
Donald Trump went for the shock factor. It got a lot of attention. He has no filter. He's very comfortable saying it like it is. And I think Americans went to the polls to vote for a person who isn't going to hide things behind our backs, who is going to be straightforward and tell you like it is. We've heard a lot of things we don't like to hear from Donald Trump. That is who he is. He's a billionaire. He can pay, he has the money to say whatever he wants to do. He's not beholden to Washington and the constituency. And think that while he's in Washington, he'll have a lot of people around him, such as public relations personnel. He'll have a lot of advisors that are going to tone him down a little bit. They'll place some filters on him. But for the election, he had to get our attention. And I think
that he got.
Yeah.
That he got.
To say it, Donald Trump is a man like a lot of other men. Again, he's just being him.
So you said he's just being a big boy. Boys will be boys.
Correct.
Exactly.
I really don't want him to change. I know he's going to be offensive to some. Aren't we all sometimes? We don't mean to be. Dottie, you and I, we go back 20 plus years and we talked about the plus. We're not going to add the numbers after
Just put
that.
the plus right there. Yeah.
You and I have had some really great, frank girl discussions over those 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And if someone in the room were recording our discussions about how we talk about men, we cannot run for president.
I hope nobody has been recording these somewhere. They might have been.
So we're girls behind closed doors, or we don't know if a mic is on and somebody's recording what the conversations. We're just being girls. He is a guy. He's a typical guy, and not only that, again, I'll state, he's a billionaire. He can say what he wants to say. But bottom line, when you look at Donald Trump, he's a very compassionate guy. Look at his family. Look at him through his family. If he is a sociopath, he would raise sociopaths. But he has well-grounded, very successful young adults who are his children. And I think that if we look toward his philanthropy, his generosity, he has a big heart. And I think that will be what we see more in the Oval Office.
Okay. And now Sheila DeGan Gilbert, welcome aboard and welcome back.
Thank you.
Sheila was here, Miss Gilbert was here with us not too long ago. It was just a few months ago. You were here on Local Matters. This was when Bernie Sanders was still on the stumping ground, and so you came on to talk about that. Now that we're down to the wire and we know that Donald Trump is the president-elect, Diana has she's right there for Donald Trump. I saw you sitting there shaking your head going, Your perspective on his big win.
You know, the Calhoun County Democrats worked very hard for Hillary for the ticket. We watched the Donald Trump program. We watched everything that he said and did, and we couldn't justify supporting him in any way with women, girls, any of the programs that he put forth. We said that who he was then is who he's going to be later. He's not going to change in all likelihood. I'm appalled at the people that try to normalize this election, and I've watched all these newscasters and all these people say, you know, it's okay. There was a very smooth transition, no doubt that took place.
No, that was a smooth transition.
That was pretty impressive.
That was pretty
Then he goes out and he tweets some pretty offensive things about, of all people, the media.
Yeah,
so that gives you
the media.
Gives you a little bit of indicator that he's not going to be exactly the most stable person. He's divided the working class. He's done a real job with that, and we're not happy about that at all. However, we know that he is the president right now, and I'm not by any means saying that it's normal. It's not. This is not a normal election. And you mentioned those riots. When you look at all of those people, and maybe they organized on their own. Those are those millennials that are going to be coming back in 4 years and say, wait a minute, halt, I didn't mean this to happen. Look what this is doing to my family. And I look at my little granddaughter and I can't say to her, men will be men. This is just the way things are. You got a lot of money, so that gives you the opportunity to do what you want. I can't justify that to her. So we have worked really hard to get the Democrat platform put before. It's been a little bit difficult, but Calhoun County had like 35,000 Republicans to 13,000 Democrats, something like that. So, no doubt.
And I want to talk about that too a little bit later on in the show. Do you ever foresee that Calhoun County might start to turn away from red and turn blue at some instances?
It was no accident that Hillary wore the purple when she did the concession, when she did her concession speech.
When she finally came out.
A nice little blend of red and blue. What we'd like to do is turn Alabama a little bit purple, start moving it, and it's just like that pendulum that swings. And I've said this so many times. It swings all the way back. And when you talk about addictions and when people get to the absolute bottom, then they start back up again. Right. So I kind of thought we might have been there at this point, but we weren't. So after this is all played out and all these people see how they're affected, the working middle class that's been so disenfranchised, when they start seeing how it affects them personally, then they'll start saying, you know, maybe we do need to make some changes. But all those that you've seen in all these riots, you look at the age of those people, you look at them, they want something to happen, and they're going to be your voting base in 2020.
And I want to talk about that when we come back. The young millennials. You know, I talk to young people all of the time, and I want to key in on that when we come back. I want to, of course, come back, and we'll be talking with Dr. Barbara Boyd. She's also here with us, and I want to get her perspective on that, particularly when talking with young people. How do we? What type of advice will we give to them? Will we give them the clearance to continue to go out and protest in the way that they're doing, or do we try to work to bring calm to them? So we'll be right back with more Local Matters. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. I'm Dottie Rinsky. You know, I'm joined here this morning with three women who are professionals in their own right. Two are in elected positions, and Ms. Diana Michaels is joining us today. She has years of experience, we want to say 20 plus, working in the media industry and also working, having interviewed many people in the political arena. And before we went to break, we got a chance to talk with Diana Michaels, and she shared with us that she is a full she's really for Trump, and she was for Trump, and she still is for Trump. And then we talked with Sheila Gilbert, who also let us know that she was working on behalf, of course, of Hillary Clinton. So, and we respect those views. But now I would like to talk with Dr. Barbara Boyd. She's state representative here with us on Local Matters from House District number, is it
32.
32. And you know, we left off talking about the protests that are going and taking place around the country, because so many young kids, particularly the millennials, they're upset. They are, and they have taken to the streets like we've never seen before, especially for a presidential election of sorts. What advice would you give to young people, Dr. Boyd? You've been around for quite some time. You've seen this. You've been through this with civil rights and the protests there. So now here we are, 2016, and here we witness something like that. What advice and perspective can you give to us?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. As I sat here and listened to the two others, one for and one pro, and you know, but I'm going to come from a different perspective. You introduced me as a state legislator, but also I had 45 years and 6 months in education.
Yes.
At 7 through 12, 2 year, I'm retired, and 4 year. What disturbed me so much about this was one day this week when I was looking on TV, and here was a bunch of elementary students in a classroom chanting, "Build the wall, build the wall, build the wall." Then another group of students in another area was saying, "Down with Hilda, down here." That is what's more disturbing to me than people in the streets. Simply because these are young minds.
Because now we're
and what
affecting
are
young
we
minds.
bringing up in the line? Or what are we teaching them? This is what really matters. But on the other hand, there are those who may not think. But also in that classroom was the other side, and the commentary pointed it out. There were foreign kids of different nationalities and the impression it was making on them. That really broke my heart, because I said, we learn early in education that your values are formed. Most of the times they say even before you get to school,
They
even
said
in
that-
your homes.
Is it by the time you're 5?
Five.
I've always taught
Everything
that
you
it's about 5 years
have.
old.
So I looked and I sat there and I thought to myself, but then, you know, I looked back and I thought about people who, as you said, we've survived the civil rights movement. We've survived many things. To us, we know what struggles are. To most minorities, we know.
Right.
And so the Democratic Party, in my situation, is in that we will survive.
Right.
After, let's look at it in another perspective. We were in control more than 100+ years. And a lot of them look back to say that was the change, 2010, that brought about all of this. Effective leaders, let's go to President-elect Trump. Effective leaders don't have to have all the knowledge, but they do need a little bit. But the real deal is whom they surround them in their cabinet. This is what, and you probably want me to stop here because I'm probably where you want to be next.
I want to be, you are that, what a great segue. I want to be right there. because we realize that President-elect Donald J. Trump now has no experience. But it's who you surround yourself with. I always tell people, even as an educator myself now, I always say sometimes you don't have to be the smartest kid on the block. But you know what, if you want to be the smartest kid on the block, you will surround yourself with other kids that are smart.
And you're right, he's more of a figurehead than a policymaker. So he doesn't have that much power in Washington. And I think he will make a good figurehead for us, especially when it comes to our foreign policy, which is in the dumps right now. He, I think, better than Hillary, will make good allies with Russia and Putin. I think Putin stayed up all night long.
Some already say he's
excited.
already good friends with Putin already.
I think had Hillary
got some things in the deal with them. Some
Absolutely.
believe.
They're both businessmen, they're both charismatic, and they're both very strong-willed. And so I think that better than Hillary, he will have a better relationship and create and rebuild our foreign policy.
Do you? But here in Alabama, there's it's been touted that so he gave a special shout out, if you will. He gave a special shout out to Senator Jeff Sessions. And so right now there's big talk that he perhaps is going to have a pretty big seat in his cabinet. Have you heard anything there in the House?
I have, and I have been reading about him. I've been talking with people in Mobile since I found out that. What's so ironic about that to me is that he is a junior senator there. And I would have thought that one of the most seasoned ones would have come on board earlier with President-elect Trump. They did not. But he came on early in February. Now, I remember when he represents, I think it's Congressional District 1, part of Mobile.
And Dr. Boyd, I hear them counting down in my ear. We've got to go to break. When we come back, I want to pick back up and talk about Senator Jeff Sessions. If he leaves and he's offered, he's gone. So how will they fill his seat? So we're going to be right back with that. So don't go away. We'll be right back with more Local Matters. Hello, everyone. Welcome back again to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. I'm joined here this morning with women who are in elected positions, and also joining us, no stranger to TV 24, no stranger to the world of media, Miss Diana Michael. She's a media consultant now, and of course she came on to provide her perspective. She's a big-time Trump supporter, and people might say, wow, and you guys are still friends. Yes, we are. And so we've been talking about how it's really going to be really good for Alabama if Senator Jeff Sessions, we've been hearing talk, this rumor that the President-elect Donald Trump is looking at him to bring him into his cabinet. How do you think that's going to really help Alabama?
On a very positive note, that would be very beneficial, as we were discussing during break, for Alabama, because whenever you have someone that high up, and when we look at which positions we would prefer in thinking about us, we talked about Homeland Security. Simply because with Representative Rogers and the others, that would be a plus for us, because we, every background, we are afraid of what may happen to us. So that's great. But on the other hand, there are some positions I sort of fear, and I think about what effect it will have on calming them as it relates. But when we look at it and see, we may not have seen the true person as she reflected on. We don't really know. We need to give him a chance to select his cabinet and to begin to perform. But the first thing I would like for him to do, along with whomever he puts in his cabinet, is to try to calm the spirit that's there. And above all, I was sitting here thinking, and I told him, I prepared myself for this before it happened. And I said to myself that I always say the serenity prayer. And if we could just think about that and think about it to those who, we know that well, God give us, we're going to say, the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change those, and wisdom to know the difference. And this is where we all are going to be, whether we're Democrats, whether we're Republicans, whether we're independents, whether we are neither. What can we do to make it better, and when can we back off? And that's where I'm hoping he will go in knowing when to back
You know,
off.
I think a large part of it is. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not a fan of him, and
And Sheila Gilbert is just not a fan, period. She just doesn't like him. She's like,
Now listen,
you
who
don't
would have ever thought this water boy for Trump would end up being a potential person in a cabinet position?
He's well respected in Washington. I think that's where it comes from.
I have to say, I have a lot of, so he will be in a position of authority, no doubt about that. Now, if he gets defense, that would be a good thing
That would be a good
because
thing for us.
of the depot and all of the things like that, if he can do it. But I've known Jeff Sessions for a long time, and I have my doubts, but I will hope that he's successful. I'm kind of like yesterday, like President Obama said, we're rooting for your success. You don't want anybody to
You
fail.
don't want them to
Exactly.
fail
We all fail
Because
then.
if he fails, we all fail.
But I am not normalizing this election by any
No.
stretch of the imagination because
Yeah.
it was not and is not a normal election. Things are still in the making. There's still a lot of turmoil. There's still
Yeah.
a lot of. There needs to be a calming agent, no doubt
I
about
think
that.
right now, the thing that we should really and hope that President-elect Trump will do, and that is to calm people, the fears, because it really doesn't matter what he plans to do and what his agenda is if you still have people, and with our country being, I've never seen it this divided in my whole years.
You know,
I've
you s-
never seen
This
it
is
this
Alabama has
divided.
never voted Republican as strongly as they did this time for Donald Trump. Now you have to say, why is that? And you look at the population of this state: low income, low health, low
I have an
education.
answer for that.
People
'cause-
wanted change.
And it was across the board. I was impressed. I stayed awake. It was epic.
I did too.
historic.
We all
People
did.
are
Yeah,
calling
I
this
did
a
too.
movement.
I did
So you're
too.
right. This is something different. It was across the board. If it had just been a select group of people that were voting for Trump, I wouldn't be as confident because obviously we voted for the lesser of two evils. We know that. We didn't really have two very strong candidates, and we were being watched on a world stage. But Trump was able to compassionately bring a large group of people together. So Mexicans voted for him, blacks voted for him, the poor voted for him, the rich, the wealthy, millennials voted for him. I have family members that are millennials. They all voted for Donald Trump. So it wasn't one select group of people. Across the board, I think people are tired of the way things were. And I will tell you, first of all, I want to congratulate the Democratic Party. You guys presented the strongest candidate that gave Donald Trump a run for his money. Had she had maybe a little bit less,
blemishes,
blemishes, I guess you could
That's
say.
probably true. I will acknowledge
Then I
that.
think she
That's
would
probably
have
true.
taken this. She would have run with it. Sadly, it's not because she's a woman. It's not because of a lot of the political system. It's because of who she was. A lot of people didn't trust her. And so in this case, Donald Trump wins. I think we all come together. We fear change. We all do. It doesn't matter if you want to admit it or not. And with this comes change.
But with this change, do we? I think what I want to see Donald Trump. This is me now. What I want to see is him come out and say, "We have got to. I want to stop the violence." That's what I want. I want that to stop.
Instead of sending out a tweet that
I want to
says,
stop
I don't
it.
want the media to
Just
do
stop
this.
it.
But
Let's
you
come
got to
together.
watch now. Watch. He did win because of our electoral system, but she got the most popular votes. Now
That's
that's what
the
you got to
unrest.
look at too.
She did win the popular
which
vote.
brought about that. But popular votes don't elect the president. And division among those states. It was a good race, a close race. And what you said is probably true as to why she lost is simply because, all of us carry some things around that's baggage. But we don't really know what was in some of those emails. And this is what I've told myself, that might have not been all of us should have known. But even at that,
She should have never done it from her home. And
that we
on a
agree with
personal-
that.
But the thing is,
Well, you know what, guys? We could sit here and talk we could talk for another 30 minutes. I probably should have done a real
hour.
special, an hour on this.
We'll come
But
back.
we have got
Let's
to,
talk about the
but we've
Electoral
got to
College.
go. We've got to go. We have had so much fun sitting here talking about this, but we've got to go. So we hope that we'll see you back next week with more Local Matters.